The Seattle Mariners, off the bat of the big dumper, now just one win away from their first LCS since 0-1. Here in the fourth, Cal Raleigh single into center. That brings home some insurance, and then more. Top half of the ninth, 60 in the regular season, and a first in the postseason. Yeah, you can dump that right here. 8-4 your final in Game 3. As Dumper and the Seattle Mariners, again, just one win away from advancing as they continue to keep this Detroit Tigers team at bay that's still struggling at home. You'd think series shifts back to Detroit, maybe some hope there, but hopeless over the last month, Detroit in that building. CBS MLB writer Matt Snyder in with reaction to Game 3. Matt, this was an exciting ball game, and it sort of had all the notes and whiffs of what made Seattle such a great team throughout the year, what made them so entertaining to watch. The emerging thought out of this one is what?
Yeah, I think we've got to talk about the Mariners offense for a second, because I think if people look at just their season stats, other than Cal Raleigh's 60 home runs, by the way, that they might think, this isn't that great of an offensive team. No, they are a great offensive team. Their numbers are just badly suppressed by T-Mobile Park. They're one of the top 3 offenses in baseball when they get out of T-Mobile Park. If you look, they're tied for the most home runs in baseball on the road with the Yankees. They were second in OPS on the road. They were third in runs scored on the road. Sure enough, we see 8 runs here tonight. Now, the Tigers gave them extra chances, but you can't do that to a great offensive team. That was part of the reason that the Mariners ran away with this thing. We saw it from the first run that the Mariners scored. It was Victor Robles with the double, J.P. Crawford with the single. Then the Tigers kicked the ball around for a second. All of a sudden, it's 1-0. Randy Arozarena singles. It's 2-0. Then we saw the home runs. We saw J.P. Crawford go deep in addition to Cal Raleigh. It's just Eugenio Suarez hit a home run. Mm-hmm. They can beat you in so many different ways offensively. And then you go to the mound. Logan Gilbert nails for his 6 innings. The 3 good relievers that the Mariners used were great. They tried to avoid having to use Munoz in the 9th with that 8-1 lead, and kind of backfired. They had to bring Munoz in, but all's well that ends well. The Mariners are just a much better team here. I'm
glad you first invoked the limitations of a home park, because I want to apply that theory to the Detroit Tigers, who haven't won at home since September 6th. It's a team that led the division by 14 games and let it slip through their fingers through July and the rest of the summer. What's holding Detroit together right now? This is bubble gum and paper mache, but still an outside chance to make this a series, get it to a Game 5. Not all is lost just yet, but what is holding Detroit together?
I think that there still has to be some level of belief in themselves. Like, hey, we couldn't have built up a 14.5 game lead if we weren't a good team. And then they went out and they won that series in Cleveland. All 3 games were in Cleveland. They took 2 of those 3, and the Guardians are the team that ran them down and beat them up down the stretch. So I think after that, then they go into Seattle and get Game 1. It's, hey, we can do this thing. But, they haven't been doing it at home. It might be at some point some kind of mental block. Look, their offense is kind of on fumes at this point. Mm-hmm. So is the rotation behind Tarek Skubal. Casey Mize gets the ball tomorrow. He was an all-star this year, but he was not very good in the second half. Jack Flaherty got the ball today. Inconsistent at best all year. At worst, you could just say he was straight up bad, and we saw more of the same today. He looked really good for the first inning. He looked okay enough in the second inning, and then the wheels fell off in the third and fourth. So I think this is probably going to get closed down here in Game 4. But here's the thing. If you're the Tigers in the clubhouse, find a way to get this game tomorrow when the Mariners don't have a starting pitcher, because Brian Wu is hurt, so they're going to have to try to figure out how to piece it together. Send it back to Game 5 in Seattle, and you've got Tarek Skubal waiting in the wings.
Elimination is always the hardest part of these series. These are professionals who take a lot of pride in their work. Detroit not going to lay down, especially at their home ballpark. We'll see what it looks like. But as you said here, it's a Seattle team that's playing with all the confidence in the world, and they have that ability. It just feels sustainable right now in this series and beyond. What do you point to in the confidence that this team has earned throughout the season, but also is really multiplying here in the postseason?
They're a really well-rounded baseball team. I mean, I talked about the offense, and they can beat you in more ways than one. They can hit the ball out of the ballpark as good as anybody in baseball, especially when they're on the road. But they can steal bases, too. They had a couple guys over 30 stolen bases in Julio Rodriguez and Randy Arozarena. They have a deep lineup. They can beat you from the bottom of the order, as we saw tonight. We've seen the front of the rotation here in these first 3 games, and it would be 4 deep if Brian Wu was not injured. We've seen the back end of the bullpen with Brash and Munoz and Bizardo. They're a very good defensive team as well. They don't really have a glaring weakness. Now, that doesn't mean that they're going to win the World Series necessarily, but I definitely think they can. They were my pick heading into the playoffs to represent the American League in the World Series, and I would not be surprised if they won it all because, like I said, they're good in every single facet. They don't have, let's say, what the Dodgers have, where everything on the Dodgers looks awesome, except the bullpen. And then the bullpen, you're like, dude, that is a terrible bullpen. The Mariners don't have any aspect of their ball club where you look and you say, when they lose, it's going to be because of this. They don't have anything that sticks out like that. So they very well could be winning their first World Series ever this season.
Yeah, you don't get here by accident, and it does appear they have designs for beyond just a series in Detroit. Matt Snyder, we play on here in the playoffs. Here's a look at what they're trying to do. Active LCS appearance droughts 23 seasons and counting, but maybe you could stop counting on Wednesday night. The Mariners 1 win away from that ALCS.